Talks on Psychoanalysis shares topics published in the IPA Society journals and Congress debates worldwide, brought to you in the voices of the original authors. We hope this window will allow you to experience the depth and breadth of psychoanalytic thought around the world. I am Gaetano Pellegrini, and in this episode we'll listen to Angelika Staehle, current chair of the IPA Psychoanalytic Education Committee. She presents the approach and results of their new project, Meetings of Societies on Education. The project is an innovative response of the IPA to the need for a means of implementing a collegial quality enhancement of psychoanalytic education as an alternative to oversight. The goal is to enhance creative self-reflection within and among the institutes on what we want to transmit to the newer generations of psychoanalysts. The Psychoanalytic Education Committee will continue this meeting of societies as a permanent offering to all IPA Component Societies. Angelika Staehle is a training analyst for child, adolescent and adult psychoanalysis at the German Psychoanalytic Association and for group analysis. She has been for many years member of the executive board and director of training for adult and child analysis in the German Psychoanalytic Association. Please check the details of the episode to find more information about the author and to find the reference to the text of this episode. And to stay informed about the latest podcast releases, please sign up today.
A new multi-regional discursive approach to improve training for current and future generations of psychoanalysts. That's what I want to talk about to you today. The newly created Meetings of Societies on Education by the Psychoanalytic Education Committee, PEC, is an innovative response to the IPA to the need for a means of implementing a collegial quality enhancement of psychoanalytic education. The concept for this project was developed in collaboration between PEC and the Task Force on Collegial Quality Enhancement. The Meeting of Societies on Education was created to provide an alternative to oversight. The basic philosophy of this project is not to assess the quality of the psychoanalytic education in the IPA Component Societies in a top-down manner by a body who has a professional knowledge, but to provide a setting in which societies can exchange their philosophy and implementation of their training model in the presence of a third, so that they can learn from each other and, importantly, reflect on their own ways of organizing their training. Another important goal is to increase understanding of different training models and find out if and how different models can be employed to effectively and with responsibility educate the next generation of psychoanalysts. Meeting and discussing with other societies with different training models and working in different socio-cultural conditions will increase the knowledge of each other and reduce negative projections among societies and across regions. This will help societies to feel strengthened in their institutional identity and in their sense of belonging to an international organization of psychoanalysts, the IPA. In the era in which budgetary prudence is essential, we PEC decided to use existing venues of local conferences and meetings in the IPA regions to reduce any new costs for IPA and the participating societies considerably. These meetings of societies on education is an intergroup event, as participants come from different subsystems of the IPA and of their society. 3 societies will meet and exchange and discuss their training over 2 days. Each society will participate with 4 to 5 members: president, director of training, training analyst, non-training analyst member, and representative of the candidates. So there come participants from every group of the society. The group discussion will be moderated by a member of PAC, and the PAC member will be an observer. We provide the participating societies with a toolbox of questions and ask them to prepare a paper before the meeting. In preparation for the meeting, the participants start to reflect on the functioning of the institution, that means self-study, which serve as its own regulatory function. The second step is reviewing and discussing the training in presence with peer society. In the new working group, the function of a third is exerted by the other peer society. Creating a third perspective is extremely important to avoid what is known as groupthink. To join the encounter, that is to become a member of the new working group formed to study education with the other societies, requires the participants to hold a flexible attitude which allows new ideas to penetrate while maintaining the affiliation with the home group. And the process, if successful, can lead to enhanced appreciation of differences and increased sense of belonging to a larger group that has more in common. This message, learned through experience, that's very important, can be brought back to the home organization with the hoped-for effect of changing mistrust into trust across societies and regions and different training models. In 2020, we had the first meeting with 3 North American societies: the Contemporary Freudian Society from New York, Michigan Psychoanalytic Society, and San Francisco Center for Psychoanalysis. Each society introduced itself in terms of history, training, philosophy, orientation, and some important policy and procedures, generating interchange among participants and considerable enthusiasm about learning different ways of dealing with educational challenges. Each society was able to advocate for itself and be recognized by others, which yielded a serious, active, yet relaxed atmosphere, which was essential for the good outcome achieved. The facilitation by the PAC helped contain initial anxieties around differences. The value of the intergroup encounter was highlighted by the exchanges about the training analysis system, a usually highly contentious topic. Each institute had an expressed rationale for their system, but with discussions and the trust created, it became apparent that there were unconscious or systems issues beyond the stated training regulation that had led each institute to their choice in training analyst policies. This was quite instructive to all participants, and interestingly, most of the candidate representatives had not heard the history that contributed to these policy positions. Members began to think more deeply about the advantages and limitations of their own system, which was just what we had hoped might be accomplished. One takeaway from these encounters is how similar all institutes were in terms of how the society's history, especially institutional trauma, influences the structure and organizational climate of the institute and its philosophy. What is sadly true is that no institute is immune to the vagaries of the unconscious expression of the forbidden. The best one can do to be alert to the dangers and to deal with them openly, when possible, so that transgenerational transmission of the drama is lessened by avoiding the splitting of those circumstances that can be harmful to both institutional life and training. Sharing such experiences provided an opportunity for self-reflection for each institute, and we hope lessons projections of unwanted aspects into other institutes. Candidates were invited to give their perspective on these issues, and they reported satisfaction with their training, and to some extent were happy not to be entangled by the power and policy issues they learned about. In this intergroup event, the candidates were most identified with their own training program and with other candidates. Yet, they took the lead in making suggestions for innovative curriculum development and outreach. So we made the experience that it was very helpful that we invited candidates to the meetings. Due to the worldwide pandemic, we had to cancel the planned 2 meetings with EPF and FIPAL societies. In October 2020, during the online FIPAL conference, the PEC organized an online meeting of societies on education with the Asociación Psychoanalytica de Buenos Aires, the Asociación Psychoanalytica de Uruguay, and the Sociedade Psychoanalytica Mato Grosso do Sul de Brasil. The differences in governments, especially in terms of the degree of participation of the candidates, was a topic. Much concern was raised about how the analytic method will continue in the future and if the modifications during the pandemic will persist. At the end, the majority of the participants expressed satisfaction with the experience of the meeting. In December 2020, we had 2 online meetings of societies on education. One group with the Paris Psychoanalytic Society, the Italian Psychoanalytic Society, and the Finnish Psychoanalytic Society, and a second group of 3 societies, the German Psychoanalytic Association, the Swiss Psychoanalytic Society, and the Israel Psychoanalytic Society. In each group, we had one society employing the French training model. That's an advantage in Europe because we have 2 different training models, which is not the case, for example, in North or South America. In the group discussion, it was interesting to realize that it was not so much the concrete organizational differences in the governance or the structure of curriculums that have an effect, but the underlying philosophy often determined by the more or less forgotten influence of the history and founding members of the institution. This was similar to the process found in the first North American meeting. This stimulated self-reflection about the society's own philosophy of training, their implementation, and the realistic appraisal of its outcome. The exchange between the societies about their curriculum led to critical self-reflection between societies like the Paris Society, working with the French model, who highlights the freedom of the candidates to choose according to their personal interests, and societies like the Italian Psychoanalytic Society or the Finnish that have a structured curriculum with obligatory courses. They work with the Eitingen model. The discussion focused on the balance between freedom, not to suffocate creativity, and the necessary structure and required seminars. The group exchange and discussion opened up a space to think more freely about the thesis about freedom, and so to discuss some possible changes in both training models. Altogether, in 2020, we had meetings with 11 societies, but due to the pandemic, only one meeting could be in person. In 2021, we will have follow-up meetings with the 6 societies who already took part, and that's very important, and we will have the opportunity to experience what they bring back from the discussions in their home institutes. We will also in 2021 continue the meetings of societies on education with 3 new societies, the Belgian, French model, the German Psychoanalytic Society, and the Swedish Psychoanalytic Society, and in North America, the Vancouver Society, Canada, the New Center of Psychoanalysis, Los Angeles, and the Northwestern Psychoanalytic Institute and Society in Seattle. Last but not least, we will have an interregional meeting with societies in one meeting from Europe, North America, and South America in July of this year. In 2021, altogether, we will hold meetings with 18 societies from all 3 IPA regions. The experience of a horizontal dialogue with colleagues from other societies dedicated to training with candidates is particularly beneficial to improve and develop their personal and institutional tasks, as well as to face manifest and unconscious obstacles of training. We conclude that by creating a work group with clear boundaries, active facilitation, and an explicit work task, the goal of positive exchanges among different institutes was accomplished. We learn that the societies are eager to exchange perspectives and to learn from each other and are not prone to judgment, but rather to be curious and open about what works and what doesn't and why, which includes historical factors rather than simply educational conviction. What may need further attention is in the follow-up to see if the ideas made from the positive work in the meeting could back to the home institute, inform others, and arouse interest and curiosity about the new experiences in the group. I want to share with you just some of the comments we received in the follow-up meetings in this year. I cite, "The PAC initiative to invite in this meeting not only training analysts, but also recent members and candidates proved to be a very positive in our intergenerational exchanges within our society, and we have shared this experience with the colleagues of our society." So it was very welcomed that we had a mixture of different subsystems of the societies. So another citation. "One of the most agreeable and unexpected aspects of these meetings was the preparatory meetings. I found the discussion among us particularly rich, and thanks to the different perspectives brought by each, given where each of us is in relation to our society. The intergenerational aspect of our points of view has been thought-provoking for me." A new comment. "What I myself have felt the most important thing during this process is that I was compelled to take a step back and look at our society from outside. From there I could see more clearly things I had not thought about. The discussion has given me inspiration and enhanced my interest in society matters." End of citation. So, to conclude, PAC will continue these meetings of societies as a permanent offering to all IPA Component Societies. Our goal is to enhance creative self-reflection on what we want to transmit to the newer generations of psychoanalysts. The upcoming generations live in an interdisciplinary and constantly changing world. For the future survival of psychoanalysis, we must offer the new generations an education that they are passionately committed to, which includes high but achievable standards, and that is open-minded enough to seriously consider different socio-cultural realities. Thank you for listening.